Good morning, all. With the hour of 8 a.m. having come and gone, the House Appropriations, Personnel, and Pensions Committee shall come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Kifowit.
Present.
Slaughter.
Present.
Reich.
Recording in progress.
Avalar. Davis. Fritz. Hernandez. Moore. West. Wilhauer. Williams. 7 members present. Quorum is present.
All right, thank you all. Today we have subject matter hearing on the FY27 proposals and requests from the Workers' Compensation Commission and the Civil Service Commission. We will also have a subject matter hearing on House Bill 3961, House Committee Amendment 1, House Bill 4904, and House Bill 5246. Seeing that I do not believe we have the bill sponsors here. Are the bill sponsors? They're not outside, right? Oh. Are you going to present?
For subject matter or for a vote?
Weaver's for a vote.
Yeah, we're gonna just present it, ask it to be presented. He's talking to the opponents about an amendment, so if we can get that on the record, I'd be appreciated.
He doesn't want to move it to the second because it's deadline week.
He does.
Okay, so we can wait for him to appear if he wants, or you want to present it.
He's on his way from Peoria right now, so.
Oh, we have the minority spokesperson to present House Bill 5246 on behalf of Leader Weaver. So the House will recognize minority spokesperson.
Don't elevate the boy to leader yet. Yeah, I'm here. Given the fact that this is the first week of baseball season, I will be deemed to be like a bullpen pitcher who's coming in after the starter gets injured. I get all the time I need. The intent of this bill is to allow for old folks like myself who have moved on and decide they want to keep their hand in some kind of working to maybe teach for a couple of years after they're retired. And the question has come up, what kind of retirement protection or retirement contributions can somebody like that make? They're not going to be there long enough to vest in the teacher's retirement system because, generally speaking, they only want to teach for 3 or 4 years. Or so. May I present from my chair? I forgot to ask you that.
You are permitted to present.
I have so few bills that I don't understand the protocol. So basically, what we're talking about are people who are like, I want to teach for 3 or 4 years and then put some money aside and things like that. It would not behoove them to get into the teacher's retirement system because they wouldn't be there long enough to vest, nor would they be there long enough to, collect the full pension. So what this bill tries to do is to allow these kinds of people to not put into the teacher's retirement system, but to establish a 401k type of program to allow for setting aside some money. There are questions that are yet being answered and to be answered, and the sponsor, we had a long talk in my office yesterday with one of the opponents who I do not see here today about a potential way to move opposition to neutral on this bill, and I think we have a pathway to do that. So the bare bones of it is to allow old folks like me to teach. I mean, what better way of teaching World War I history than from somebody who was there? So I'm asking that the committee allow this bill to go through, to be held on second. The sponsor has committed to bringing an amendment back to the committee for full discussion, and at that time we would go into greater detail about what the whole bill is about. So I'm asking for a hold on a vote on the bill to hold it on second and come back with an amendment. Any questions?
Hold on one moment. We have a few witness slips. We have two proponents, Bryce Hill, Oral testimony, Illinois Policy Institute, Jim Long, appearance only. 2 opponents, Nick Yelverton, IFT, appearance only, and Will Lovett, IEA, appearance only.
Why am I not surprised?
Well, you said that you had a meeting with the opponents, so.
Yeah, it was informal.
So is there any discussion or questions on the bill? We can hear oral testimony then from Bryce.
He was the one who was supposed to be on the virtual witness, and I think he left the room.
Oh, okay.
At this point, I think there's so many moving parts here, it would be kind of, it wouldn't serve anybody's purpose for us to talk about, to bring those in, because I think a lot of those things are going to change over time.
I thank you, Minority Spokesperson. Please add Representative Moore to the roll. Any other questions, Vice Chair? No. Please add Norma Hernandez to the roll. Representative Norma Hernandez, my apologies. Or not Hernandez, I'm sorry. All right, clerk, we have a subletter from Speaker Welch to Representative Lillian Hernandez for Representative Norma Hernandez. All right, one moment, we'll stand at ease. Lillian Jimenez, sorry. Do you want to change? Do you want to change your witness slip from appearance only to oral testimony? It's up if you want to testify.
Can I object to that?
Apologies for being stuck in the hallway. We now have a capacity limit in this room.
Will Lovett with the Illinois Education Association. We slipped in opposition. Philosophically, we're opposed to defined contribution plans, especially for members that participate in a retirement system that they have no other retirement security other than the TRS that they receive. They do not receive Social Security for their years of service. The other key thing to bear in mind with this legislation is, I know it's been commented that these are people who may enter the profession for a short period of time. However, certain life circumstances do change. and people may decide to stay in the system a little bit longer. And we believe the defined benefit program provides retirement security for educators. And I would say near-term ideas like this proposal simply would not allow us to work and modify Tier 2, make benefits more reasonable, retirement security more reachable and attainable for our membership. We have 50% of our membership is now Tier 2 within TRS and other state retirement systems. So we believe working within the defined benefit model is the better way to fix Tier 2 and to provide retirement security for our members, and not going down the path of a defined contribution plan, which leaves people, again, without any retirement security or Social Security to the whims of the market. Again, they may decide to do this for 5 years. They may decide to do it for 20 years. We don't know. But again, you are sending funds into a plan and then having it go out and be invested by individuals, again, without any retirement security when they go into retirement. So, thank you.
Yeah, I would just add, thank you, Will. Nick Yelverton, Legislative Director, Illinois Federation of Teachers. This legislation would also endanger the financial security of the systems. This money is individual accounts and does not become part of the investment pool of the individual systems. As a result, you have systems that are 40% funded and still working on a negative cash flow basis. So as a result, no new money in ends up destabilizing the fund overall. We have indicated to the sponsor we're willing to talk to him about this legislation, but it's clearly, we believe, premature to address such a large change in pension policy in the state of Illinois. That's why we are vehemently opposed to this bill.
So you mentioned you're working with the sponsor, though, and it being deadline week, if you would like to continue to work with them.
Yeah, we've offered. My understanding is there has been no meetings scheduled. I know Will had an individual discussion.
The minority spokesman has vowed that it won't advance if it gets held on second without an agreed bill. Are you guys okay with that? So that the sponsor can continue to work on it?
Well, I would just say, again, a bill of such magnitude change to the retirement systems, to let it out of committee at this point, again, is premature. Leaving it on second implies that this is a serious proposal, and frankly, something of this nature needs to be studied extensively, and there's really no agreement in the near future that we could even envision. This is such a fundamental change in the way we do pensions in the state of Illinois, especially for individuals, like Will said, that are not in Social Security. They have no underlying guarantee of a pension benefit when you put them into a defined contribution plan. They're at the whims of the market, and as we can see, the market is fluctuating very much, so it impacts not only these individuals, but it impacts decisions by the school districts. The contribution levels that the state will have to make are probably more. It has a budgetary impact. So again, moving it out at this point seems really premature without extensive study, and again, a look at the longer term impacts on Tier 2, et cetera.
Chair recognizes Representative Fritz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Will, you and I have talked in the past a little bit about, as I've toured some of my schools, some of the teachers who've come in later in life, and I believe it's federal related, and maybe they fixed it since we've talked, but if they came into TRS later in life, they had to forego some of their Social Security benefits from their previous career. Does this bill that Representative Weaver put forward open a door for them to be able to get their prior benefits from their previous career and open a pathway for more people with, frankly, career experience who tend to be better teachers, give them the ability to choose that pathway?
Very good question. So, what was it, January of 2025, the Congress and the President at the time signed repealed the GPO WEP provision that was enacted in the early 80s. That allows our membership within TRS, SUS, and any of the other non-coordinated retirement systems within the state of Illinois to receive their full privately earned Social Security benefits, which is good. That's a positive step. However, with this legislation, it is shifting, again, from a defined benefit program to a defined contribution program, okay? And these individuals, I said it earlier, life circumstances can change. They may think, I'm gonna only do this for 4 or 5 years, and it turns out they do it for 20. The defined benefit program incentivizes people to stay in a profession, rewards longevity, and in this construct, you can vest after 10 years. So if someone goes in at 50, under Tier 2, they can retire at 62 with their reduced annuity, but they can still retire with a solid pension benefit that they can count on for the rest of their life. We still deem Tier 2 as insufficient, and that's why we want to focus as the We Are One Coalition, as a member of the We Are One Coalition, to fix Tier 2. But that is a better way to fix something like this as opposed to going down the path of a defined contribution plan. So, and one thing I do want to add, I mean, under this, the way this is written, and I'm not sure if it was mentioned, the employer in this situation is the school district. And they would be the ones paying the 6% of payroll into these individuals' contributions, which would be apart from the TRS retirement system in a sense. So when they start paying into the system 6% of payroll for these individuals, yes, you may say it's a small group or segment of the population, but school districts are facing deficits throughout the entire state. And to add on additional burdens onto property taxpayers who are trying to fund education at the level that they want to, in the state of Illinois, I'm not sure that's this is in the interest of the state or the individual school districts at this time.
Minority spokesperson.
Yeah, well, we talked yesterday in my office along with the sponsor of the bill, and you brought up a model that is available in IMRF for something similar, if I recall our conversation. Can you kind of go into what you were discussing with that IMRF add-on program?
So I would say that our conversation was, I would characterize it as very open and discussing myriad ways that you could still remedy or try to accomplish what potentially the sponsor's trying to do within the defined benefit program. That, I want to preface everything I say with that, okay?
Okay, so
Now, the one of the topics of that conversation, we discussed the voluntary additional contribution, which is within IMRF, the VAC. But again, those people make those contributions. That in turn can be annuitized and returned to the individual participant who made those additional contributions up to 10% of payroll. But they are guaranteed a 7.25% interest rate, which gives them added retirement security. And that's critical to our organizations for people who do not receive Social Security.
I saw that as a reason to continue talking about this bill because I do see that maybe as a possible pathway towards some kind of compromise here. So again, I'm going to do a little pushback here and say I'm a big fan of the market because the market has given us a lot more than it has taken away from us. And to say that this thing is subject to the vagaries of the market and therefore we're in better position to decide what's best for you, then I think that I would respectfully push back on those comments. So again, I think that what we need to do is, and we need to expand employment in the teaching profession. There's no question about that. I think we all agree on that. But what I'm looking at is, again, situation where somebody's coming in. Yeah, they may decide to spend 20 years there, or they may not. But I think that the ability of the system to accommodate additional members who are not necessarily bound into the pension system that currently exists and allow for some kind of flexibility in giving those folks maybe like a VAC program. I'm willing, I know that because the sponsor was in my office at the same time we were having this conversation, and he looked at you and said, hey, that's, and as far as that's something we would be willing to consider. And I think he voiced a certain amount of support for the fact that not requiring an employer contribution was agreeable to him. So again, I would ask that this bill be approved or voted on approvingly. And he has committed to speaking with you, and I got every indication that you were willing to talk to him. And let's see if we can come up with something that will maybe enhance employment in the teaching profession, but allow those like myself who, at my age might decide I just want to, keep my hand in the game and do some teaching, but certainly not for 10, 15, 20 years. So all I can ask is that this bill be approved and held on second. Thank you.
Thank you, Minority Spokesperson. Chair recognizes IEA witness Will Lovett.
So, having very candid conversations in your office, we were discussing multiple concepts. At no point in time did we say that this bill was agreeable to move forward. We said we could have a conversation about these issues. They could be amended to another bill. They could be introduced as another bill. They could be amended to a Senate bill that comes over and potentially move out. But there was never an understanding, just to be clear, that we were okay with this bill.
I agree. You never said that. But how many times have we sat in these committees and talked about, oh, I've got an amendment, this, that, the other thing, coming back, we're going to do that. All of a sudden now, no, we're not willing to talk. But while there's a pathway that seemed to be indicated by you yesterday, I think that it's unfair to say just because it has an effect upon this, that we can't have that conversation going forward. Today is the deadline, or tomorrow, Friday, is the deadline for getting these bills. But I think this is a bill, and you admitted, Nick, you said this is a bill of great magnitude. This is something that has a definite impact. Is it a definite impact because of philosophical differences? Is it an impact because you think it's the camel's nose under the tent flap? Or is there any kind of other objection that may not allow you to say it's our way or the highway? I also, I think Jim Long would like to speak on behalf of the proponents of the bill. So if we could add him to the speaker's role, I would appreciate it, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Minority Spokesperson. Did you want to offer up testimony?
Yes, please, and thank you.
Identify yourself for the record.
Jim Long, Illinois Policy. The one thing so this is the one component of how the functionality of this would work, but I think it's important to realize the spirit of the bill is to incentivize those, like Representative Reich leader said, that these are people that have already established their careers, who already have most likely, secured their retirement and are looking for something else. They're not going to this as a way to get a pension and go. That's the incentive, though, is maybe to continue and fill the gap between age 50 and going forward as something that they can do while they go to teach. But I think the key is with teacher shortages, that these are people that are highly, like all of us here, that would have high skill levels that could contribute to the teaching system and benefit the children and the students, that they can bestow knowledge. I have a 22-year-old daughter who's a kindergarten teacher who's great and the smartest kid on the block. She'll know more when she's 42 and 50 years old, and if she was returning at that age, I think she could even offer more. And so if we can get those types of people back into the classroom. Now, whether or not it's a defined contribution or defined benefit, I think that's what spokesperson Reich and the bill sponsor Weaver is trying to get to. And I think if we can continue this, we can work that out. However, we don't want to throw out the function of this bill to get people that have knowledge and experience into the classrooms. And this is just an incentive to offer that. So that's the intent of the bill and what it's brought forward by.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that testimony. I see Leader Stewart in the room. She does the working group on teacher shortages. So that is being discussed in the House as well, I believe, teacher retention and shortage. So I don't believe there's votes on this side of the aisle to advance this out of committee. Minority Spokesperson, would you like to pull it from the record so that it can be considered at another time? We're going to recess.
I find it highly disturbing that something like this would be voted against, especially by folks who are constantly saying we need more people in the teaching profession. Since this is obviously the last meeting we're going to have before the deadline, we're going to have to wait another year for this. I'd like your folks to be on record on this one. Let's have a vote on this.
I don't think that, I just think this particular bill do not have the votes to advance. I do know that we do have a working group with regards to teacher shortage that could consider this, could potentially, if there is an agreement, have the nuance of this bill put into another bill. As was mentioned, there are other ways to advance bills with regards to amendments to bills if there is an agreement. Just for the record's sake, every time I've held a bill on second, the opponents next to me have agreed to work with me and agreed for the bill to go out on second. Here we have opponents that have not agreed to that, and I don't believe that. And in this instance, there are the votes. But we can, if we vote the bill, then I don't believe it can be considered in committee again, or there would have to be a motion to reconsider if the vote, I do believe that if there is a vote today, that to consider the bill and to keep it in committee would not be possible in the future.
Once again, I'm disturbed by the fact that we're dealing with doctrinaire type decisions here instead of trying to find a pathway to getting more people into the teaching professions. Without the sponsor being here, I think I'm going to ask that this bill be taken off the table, please.
Thank you, sir. And I will have a discussion with the bill sponsor. And I ask the opponents to continue to dialogue with the bill sponsor and to work on this. So thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. The chair recognizes Leader Stewart, House Bill 4909. I can't hear you. Oh, correcting the record, Representative Favor Dias runs the working group for the teacher shortages now. Yeah, just for the record. All right. Please proceed, Representative Stewart, Leader Stewart.
Thank you very much. I have before you House Bill 4909, and it has to do with IMRF benefits. And in simple terms, it amends IMRF, the article of the pension code, to allow local government employees to continue participation in both IMRF and a small supplemental private sector pension fund, which would maintain the status quo for hundreds of public employees. My understanding is that if we don't do this, we're going to have at least 40 taxing bodies that are going to have to pay tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in some liability penalties. And like my city of Edwardsville alone, it's over $200,000, over $250,000 that the cost would be to them. Some different school districts would pay in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I do have representation here to help discuss any fine details if we need that.
Thank you, Leader Stewart. We have 3 proponents: Sean Stott, oral testimony; Francis Orenick, Illinois AFL-CIO, record of appearance only; John Hanley, record of appearance only. We have 14 opponents. For the most part, Dan Hankowitz, IMRF, record of appearance only, and multiple municipalities, including Caitlin Mitchum with IML, ISACO, Illinois State Association of Counties, Nakia Hall, record of appearance only, and Suzette Quintelli, DuPage Mayors and Managers, records of appearance only. Would the witness like to proceed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sean Stott with the Laborers International Union. In the interest of time, I will limit my remarks to say that we're just, as Leader Stewart said, we're just trying to make sure that 560 members of ours and another 150 members of Operating Engineers Level 399 can continue to participate in IMRF as they have been for the past 12 years without incurring any penalties to their employers, and obviously in hopes that they would not lose their IMRF pension.
Can you extrapolate what the opposition, why they are opposed to your bill, either the witness or you, Leader Stewart?
Yeah, I think there's opposition here in the room, so.
Okay, they didn't slip for oral testimony, so none of the opposition slipped for oral testimony. So if you could please either amend your slip or slip for oral
I
testimony.
shall. Good morning,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair, Representative Reich. My name is Dan Hinkowitz on behalf of IMRF. The IMRF board has a standing position that holds that any legislative measure they feel confers a special benefit should be opposed. So they took a principled stand at their March board meeting. We have spoken with Mr. Stott and Leader Stewart, and we have assured them that if this bill were to pass, we would carry it out. So there's no issue from our side from an operational standpoint. We will absolutely do this if it's enacted into law.
So they're taking a principled stance against
The
a
board has-
bill that potentially could save money, as the leader just said, could have an impact on her local municipality of significant dollars. That's what I mean, it's
position.
Maybe they need to take more closely look. Minority spokesperson, right? Do you have a question? Or just a scratch? Okay. You get the minority spokesperson scratching his head on that one.
Can I go ahead? Oh, thank you. I'm curious, is this Taft-Hartley plan a voluntary plan for all that is available to all IMRF members, or is this something that is specific to a specific employer or a specific area, or what?
When we organized extensively in the public sector back in the late, in the 1990s and early 2000s, one of the things that we suggested to the workers was, if they wanted to, and the employers, we could negotiate with their employer, they could participate in one of our private sector Taft-Hartley plans. Not all of them do that. I'm not exactly sure how to answer your question, but at the end of the day, what we're seeking to do here is simply maintain the status quo for our folks. We're not looking to establish a beachhead to expand benefits to other public employers and their.
So do these Taft-Hartley plans predate your organizing?
Oh, yeah.
They did?
Yes.
Well, Taft-Hartley was like, I mean,
19,
I was there.
40,
okay, so this is an option based that is available to the employer to present to their employees, rather than presenting it to the employees themselves, regardless of who their employer is. Am I correct?
If I understand the question, yes, I think so. Yes.
Okay. What is the nature of the investment, or what is the nature of the contribution into the Taft-Hartley plans?
The contributions are benefits in lieu of wages. So in the negotiations to establish this plans, the employees gave up higher salaries in exchange for these very small supplemental pension benefits.
It's funny. Were you sitting in here when the last bill was being discussed?
I was.
Doesn't this sound familiar?
I don't think I can comment on that later.
Well, is this a VAC plan?
I have no idea.
Okay. Representative, what is the option for not getting this bill passed? What confronts the participant in this case?
It's my understanding if we don't pass this bill that there's at least 560 public employees who would lose their IMRF pension eligibility.
Why? Just walk me through the reasons why that would be the case, or if Dan, you want to.
IMRF would do that. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan.
The statute currently does not permit them to be in both. There was a 2014 enactment in which a group of Madison County carpenters advocated for what is now the statute, where dual participation is not allowed. They want it to be in the Taft-Hartley plan. There would be a staff determination, there would be a legal determination by one of our staff lawyers. There would be an appeal process that would play out over about 120 days. That would come before the IMRF Benefit Review Committee and then before the full board. We are very much in limbo with this situation right now as a legislative remedy is being pursued. So IMRF is not in a hurry to kick anybody out.
Can you fill out a witness slip? Or,
I can't look.
oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
And would that in fact be the case in your understanding, as the representative has portrayed it? Would that be the case, or would these people who are part of the Taft-Hartley plan get a rollover of their contributions into the Taft-Hartley plan and then still be able to be eligible for IMRF benefits going forward?
From IMRF's perspective, they would if they were thrown out of IMRF, they would receive a refund of their employee contributions.
Okay, let's flip it a bit though. What happens if this bill passes? Is IMRF in a position, or whoever is administering the Taft-Hartley plans, are they in a position to be able to distribute that money to the participants in a way that would allow them to, say, roll it into an IRA or something like that, and thus maintain their eligibility for IMRF. I'm just trying to, I'm confused to some extent to the connection between these two plans as to why they're so irretrievably linked that it's one or the other.
Representative, in one sense, the issue is federal law. The ERISA prevents a lot of things. It does not allow for employee contributions. The employees, the contributions have to come from employers. They cannot reimburse. The plans cannot reimburse the employees for contributions previously made. So there's really no way we can go back in time and undo what was already done pursuant to federal law. And then, as Leader Stewart pointed out, doing nothing is also going to be costly to the public employers if they seek to participate in IMRF again, because under current law, state law, they would have to withdraw from the private sector plan, which federal law again mandates that any withdrawal from a private sector multi-employer plan, which these are, that those employers have to make a payment to the plan to basically cover the benefits that they have generated, and that will be paid in years to come.
So we find ourselves perched on the horns of a dilemma here. How much money are we talking about here? What's the potential impact to municipalities and local governments if this bill does not pass?
Well, I have just a couple of examples, but like I said, the estimated withdrawal liability for just the city of Edwardsville, which is in Madison County, is $264,000. For St. Clair County, $21,000. The normal school district, $361,000. The city of Bloomington, $39,000. Obviously, those are not the only entities affected, but those are the range of dollars that we're talking about.
Okay. Does that conform to your understanding, Dan, or did you actually look at it from that standpoint?
Well, my understanding is the sponsor is referencing Taft-Hartley penalties, not IMRF. if they were thrown out of IMRF, they would receive a refund of their employee contributions.
Okay, thanks. Really be helpful if we, it would really be helpful if we had somebody representing the municipal league or somebody here to discuss their objections to it. Again, this is a dilemma. It's probably somewhere in the dim, dark past, something somebody overlooked in negotiations when this whole thing was set up. And now we're paying the price. Is there an additional cost to passing this bill?
No, passing the bill would simply be a maintenance of the status quo that has been enacted over the last 12 years, because despite the 2014 law that Mr. Hankwitz referenced, it basically went unacknowledged by IMRF, by the employers. Certainly the employees were not looking to say, hey, we're not qualified for benefits anymore. So payments have gone on in those nearly 12 years into IMRF, and so as well as the Taft-Hartley plans. So this legislation is designed to simply allow for that to continue. No additional cost to employers if the bill passes, and
no additional cost, but the payout that we're talking about, this is a one-time payout. This is not over time. This is not happening. The plan is based, if this bill fails, those plans, those Taft-Hartley plans are going to float away. So this is a one-time cost to all these different municipalities and districts for the payout of that money, and then there will be a lower contribution on the part of the employers because they're not contributing into the Taft-Hartley plan anymore. Is that correct?
yeah, well, we would, in the course of negotiations, we would insist that the employees who, again, made these contributions into these plans in lieu of wages, our position with our employers would be, hey, look, if we're, the average contribution rate is $1.10 an hour for these plans. In our case, we would say, hey, our employees should be getting another $1.10 an hour in wages if they're no longer going to be able to participate in their supplemental pension plan. but that'll be a subject to negotiations.
So how long would it take for the municipalities and the other eight departments and things like that? How long would it take them to break even on the payout versus the switch over?
That would be a question of the number of employees and the number of retirees that are benefiting from the fund. That all goes into the actuarial calculations. So it's going to differ from place to place. Again, the contribution rates range from 11 cents an hour to $5 and 28 cents an hour, and everywhere in between. And again, depending on the health of the fund and how many people we're talking about having participated in the fund, that all goes into the calculation. Our very rough estimate is that, for every employee and retiree that is a participant in the Taft-Hartley plan, it's about $1,000. So if you have 20 employees and 20 retirees, that would be $40,000.
How many is this something that's isolated to like certain parts of the state, or is this a statewide issue for all over the place?
Well, in our case, and talking to the representatives from Local 399 of the operating engineers, it seems to be localized, like Bloomington southward, and it's particularly prevalent in our case in southern Illinois. Probably even more prevalent than south of Leader Stewart's district, but obviously, the Metro East, far southern Illinois, Jacksonville, Springfield, Bloomington.
Yeah, but 399 basically represents the southern half of the state. We got 150 to the north. Have you talked to 150 to see if it has any impact on any of their people?
I have not.
This is a very difficult bill. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Minority Spokesperson. Any other questions from the committee? Leader Stewart, do you want to, your microphone's on, do you want to add to the conversation? Representative Moore, do you have a question? Nope, we're all good. Minority spokesperson.
Are you looking at amending this bill in any which way, or are we actually going to put one out that is ready to go? Are you looking at an amendment on this bill for any reason?
I don't have any proposed amendments in front of me. I know I have not, IML has not come to talk to me. They have a great system where they let you know if they're in opposition of your bill. They kind of send a generated email and you just get a list and things. But we haven't had a conversation in detail about it. I just know I am aware of their opposition, but they have not approached me with a suggested change or anything.
The nature of their maybe you say it, but do you know the nature of their opposition?
My only recollection is that very generic email that you get that just says we are opposed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, minority spokesperson. With that, there being no further debate, Leader Avalar moves that House Bill 4909 do pass. Partisan leave? Or what would you like, minority spokesperson? You're good? You're good? We're good? Okay. No. I didn't hear leave. All right. Leave. I should be used to interpreting the grumbles from minority spokesperson. We've been around a long time. All right. Leave being granted, there being 9 votes in favor, 0 votes opposed, 0 voting present. House Bill 4909 is declared passed. All right, we do not see Leader Guzzardi. All right, not seeing Leader Guzzardi in the audience. We will move on to our subject matter hearings, and if he does show up, we will consider his bill, but we will begin subject matter hearing on the FY27 proposals and requests from the Workers' Compensation Commission and the Civil Service Commission. We have several members from the Workers' Compensation Commission and several members from the Civil Service Commission. If one representative of each could present, that would be ideal. We'll start with the Workers' Compensation Commission.
Good morning, Chair Kifowitz. Thank you. Leader Reich, thank you. Members of the committee, thank you. My name is Michael Brennan. I'm the chairman of the Illinois Workers' Compensation Commission. A little closer, is that better? I'm honored to present this year's fiscal 2027 budget on behalf of the Commission. With me today are several members of our staff, our General Counsel Ron Rasha, our CFO Paul Fichtner and his assistant Tyra Brooks, who are on either side of me, and our Deputy Counsel Cole Garrett and my assistant Chris Tharp. This is my 7th year as the chairman of the Workers' Comp Commission. I was reminded of that last week when I appeared before the Senate, and thought that it was my 6th year, and somebody pointed it out. So I thank the governor for my appointment and reappointment, and I thank you for the opportunity to present today. Since we took office, we have gone totally paperless for the Commission in terms of all documents that are filed. We have a virtual process for our pre-trial conferences, and we've set over 70,000 cases last year for pre-trial conferences, which I think was a big accomplishment, as it led to 30,000 cases being settled without the necessity of trial. We still hold our trials in person with a court reporter. We have no backlog at the Commission anymore. That was something that was a giant problem at the Commission as late as 2011, when there was a major change at the Commission in the methodology. So we have made significant progress in the last 7 years. We came through COVID. We continued our work through COVID, and we were one of the court systems that continued working when others had shut down. In addition to the fact that we no longer have a backlog, we have also gone paperless for our self-insurance program. The Workers' Compensation Commission regulates self-insurance in Illinois. We have over 500 employers and over 500,000 employees that are part of that program. The security for those 500 plus employers is $750 million. So it's a very substantial program that has a significant impact on workers in Illinois. And we're very proud of the fact that we have continued to monitor it correctly and make certain that there is sufficient assets available in the event of a bankruptcy or an inability to pay on behalf of a self-insured. For this year's budget, we are requesting a 5.5% increase in behalf of the Commission. Though that is a large number, it is a very large number for us, as over the past 7 years, we have only increased our budget at a rate of about 2.2% per year. So effectively, we are flat. When I came in as chairman, we had a proposed head count of 163 employees statewide. To this date, we have never reached that number. And in fact, I believe as of last week, we're at 139 employees for our head count. We've kept costs down wherever possible, as we are an 85% personnel-driven agency. We're very diverse, and we really made a commitment to our employees to retain all, though we went paperless. As you can imagine, we were a paper-bound agency, and when we went paperless, a lot of people were in fear of losing their jobs. Our commitment to our employees was that we would retrain them so that they would learn how to use that system and continue to be great staff for us. And that has, in fact, occurred. So we've continued to capitalize on the system that we have put in place. We are now working on a legacy document system that will preserve our records in an electronic format. We have had substantial buy-in from our stakeholders, including business, labor, and the bar. And our relationships have afforded us the ability to continue to work with all groups in a very collaborative way. So I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today regarding our budget, and I would entertain any questions that you might have.
Thank you, sir. And just for the record, your budget does not receive funding from GRF.
No, it does not.
So this does not impact the state's GRF budget. Any questions from the committee? No, no questions. Well, thank you, sir. Your budget is pretty succinct. You do mention that you put your trials in person. Is there any indication about going virtual for that function in the future?
Well, I would tell you this, the opinion of myself and my fellow commissioners is very simple. It is very difficult, if not impossible, to judge either credibility or disability with a two-dimensional image. We look at that screen right now. You can't tell whether or not I have pain in my back. You can't tell whether or not I have pain in my leg. That may be impacting my capacity for work. And also, let's be honest, you can't tell whether I'm telling you the truth or not. You have to rely on my word and my reputation.
And maybe doctors.
That's the reason, and the doctors as well. And we have physicians that do testify, rarely live, but they testify through depositions and so on. And we are cognizant of who is out there and what their modus operandi is in terms of whether or not we respect their judgment. We're talking about physicians in particular. But that's the reason we've maintained the system as an in-person trial system. We did that throughout COVID. Everybody said, oh, you can't do it, and we did. And there were no people that came down with COVID as a result of attending one of our trials. So I speak very proudly of our arbitrators and our staff when in putting on those trials. Not just then, but now. We have continued our work since then, I think, very well. And I think it speaks volumes that we do not have a backlog where someone can come to you, a member of the legislature, and say that they can't get a trial date. I defy anyone to say that. It doesn't happen anymore. Cases move. And that's really what we proved last year, in that we disposed of more cases by settlement, trial, and decision than were actually filed new at the commission. That's a rarity. So we're ahead of the game. And I think it speaks well for our people.
No, thank you, sir, for that. Just if you could touch on your audit findings. You have a new audit finding according to our information, inadequate controls over personnel services, significant deficiency and non-compliance. Can you touch on your your audit finding?
Well, I'll touch on them in two ways. The first thing that I will do is tell you that we've cut our audit findings in half. We had 21 audit findings in the prior. I think we had 23 the year before. It's down to 11. And I think that speaks well of what we're doing. We delivered a message to our staff that this is extremely important. We do not want findings of any kind, and we work to a zero. I'm going to ask our CFO to comment relative to that particular audit finding because Paul Fichtner worked very closely with the auditors in our office.
I believe that finding related to lateness of documents being turned in for related to lateness of evaluations that were completed for employees. It is a new finding, but again, we are 50% less findings than the previous 2-year audit.
Yes, congratulations on that.
Very excited about it.
And if I could also comment on that particular finding relative to evaluations, I think we all know that we get caught up in other activities. We had significant turnover and change in our employees. In the last 7 years, we've had a 40% turnover in employees with retirements and people leaving. So it did create problems. We're working on that. It won't happen again.
And then could your CFO just state his name and title for the record?
Paul Fichtner, CFO, Workers' Compensation.
All right, seeing no other questions, thank you for presenting your budget.
Thank you very much.
We will now move on to the Civil Service Commission. Please just identify yourself and you can begin your presentation.
Thank you very much. My name is Thomas Klein. I'm the Executive Director of the Illinois Civil Service Commission. With me is Alexandra Myers. She's our CFO, head of our HR. She does our IT. She's our compliance officer. She's the one responsible for the fact that we didn't have any material audit findings. The Civil Service Commission is a 5-member bipartisan body that is essentially charged with overseeing the implementation of the Personnel Code by CMS and the other 40-plus agencies, boards, and commissions that employ more than 45,000 covered employees. The Commission hears appeals from covered employees who are discharged or suspended, approves requests for exemption from jurisdiction via the Personnel Code, approves any changes to job specifications, and reviews changes to the personnel rules. For fiscal year 27, the Commission's request is $565,300. I'll be happy to take any questions at this time regarding our submission.
Thank you, sir. You're a mighty commission that does a lot for not a lot of money. So you do our GRF, but again, you're only asking for $30,000 more. So certainly, you maintain 4 employees doing a yeoman's job with regards to what you have to do. We have audit finding. Oh no, you have no audit finding.
No material audit finding.
You guys are you're the cream of the cream. You're doing great. Minority spokesperson, any questions for the civil service?
Thank you. Yeah, one question. What is the average cost of an investigation to you guys? I mean, really, $500,000 is pretty good. And you got a good number of, what's the cost? What's the average cost of, or do you deal with it in those terms?
The only cost would be if we had to travel for the hearing. So we don't have any administrative law judges or any employees in Chicago. So if we have a hearing in person in Chicago, someone has to drive up there. So hotel room, mileage, things like that, rental car. Other than that, there's no costs associated with a particular hearing. There's a transcript that's paid by the agency that is that discharges the employee. So it does not come out from our budget.
Okay, thank you.
All right, no other questions. Thank you for your presentation and the discussion on this. We do not see Leader Guzzardi, so therefore we will discuss his bill at a later time. And there being no further business, the House Appropriations and Personnel and Pensions Committee will recess to the call of the chair. Thank you, members.